Have you ever wondered what it would look like if Bible prophecy actually came true? Not in 1,000 years, not in some distant future, but right now. What if I told you that in one of the most lifeless, barren places on earth, something unthinkable is happening? In the very heart of the Middle East, where the desert meets the lowest point on the planet, the Dead Sea, a place so salty, so toxic, that nothing could ever survive, is starting to show signs of life. Fish, fresh water, green plants. In the Dead Sea, this isn't science fiction. This isn't myth. This is real land. It's happening in our generation. But it's more than a strange natural event. It's something that was written thousands of years ago. A vision so specific, so bold, that it seemed impossible until now. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you will understand why what's happening in the Dead Sea may be one of the most powerful prophetic signs of our time. This isn't just about geography or geology. It's about destiny. You're about to see ancient words rise from the pages of Scripture and come alive in the soil, in the water, and in the headlines of today. Don't blink, don't scroll, because what was once dead is now alive. And what you're about to hear might just change the way you see the world forever. Let's begin. In the Old Testament, the prophet Ezekiel recorded a vision that has puzzled and inspired readers for centuries. In chapter 47 of the Book of Ezekiel, he describes being led by a divine guide to a future temple in Jerusalem. From beneath this temple, a stream of water begins to flow, gradually growing into a mighty river. This river flows eastward, eventually reaching the Arabah and emptying into what is now known as the Dead Sea. But what makes this vision truly extraordinary is what Ezekiel says happens next. He describes the once lifeless waters of that sea becoming fresh and teeming with fish of many kinds comparable to the Great Sea or the Mediterranean. He proclaims that fishermen will one day spread their nets from En-Gedi to En-Eglaim, suggesting commercial-level fishing in a place that has, throughout known history, been utterly barren of aquatic life. The Dead Sea has always been recognized for its extreme salinity, 10 times saltier than the oceans. This environment makes it inhospitable to any form of life, especially fish. Its name itself reflects this reality. Nothing lives in its waters. But Ezekiel's vision challenges that physical truth with a prophetic one, asserting that the Dead Sea will one day become a place of healing, renewal, and life. Importantly, the vision is not just symbolic. It gives specific geographic references and describes measurable changes in nature, such as the river getting deeper as it moves away from the temple and the presence of freshwater life. This suggests a literal transformation. What makes this prophecy especially intriguing in recent years is that elements of it appear to be aligning with physical changes. Reports of freshwater pools, algae, and even small fish near the Dead Sea sinkholes have led some to ask if Ezekiel's vision is starting to unfold in real time. Though skeptics might label this coincidence or natural evolution, many see it as a moment of divine validation. The detail in the passage, especially the idea of fishers casting their nets in a once-dead body of water, adds to the weight of this claim. For those who take biblical prophecy seriously, Ezekiel 47 8-10 is not just a poetic metaphor, but a blueprint of things to come. The Dead Sea, located at the lowest point on Earth's surface, is one of the most unique and extreme natural environments on the planet. Stretching between Israel and Jordan, this hypersaline lake has fascinated scientists, historians, and theologians for centuries. Its waters are so dense with salt and minerals that a person can easily float on the surface without sinking. This extreme salinity, which is more than 10 times that of most oceans, is the primary reason the Dead Sea has been historically devoid of life. No fish, aquatic plants, or visible living organisms could survive in such a concentrated brine. The only life known to exist there has been limited to microscopic extremophiles, like certain bacteria and archaea, which can endure the harsh chemical conditions. This lifelessness is what gave the Dead Sea its ominous name. In contrast to other large bodies of water in the region, which support biodiversity and human livelihoods through fishing and agriculture, the Dead Sea has always been considered barren and unproductive. It became a symbol of death, judgment, and isolation in many religious and cultural traditions. Its shores have served as settings for biblical events, and the salt formations and surrounding landscape evoke a haunting sense of stillness and permanence. The salinity levels of the Dead Sea result from thousands of years of water evaporation combined with limited freshwater inflow and no outlet. As the Jordan River and a few other minor streams feed into the basin, the intense desert heat causes the water to evaporate rapidly, leaving behind high concentrations of salt and minerals. Over time, this process has intensified due to human diversion of freshwater sources like the Jordan River for agriculture and development, causing the Dead Sea's water level to drop dramatically in recent decades. Because of its extreme environment, the very idea of fish swimming in the Dead Sea has long been considered impossible. Its waters have consistently failed to support even the most resilient aquatic species. That is why reports of life appearing specifically freshwater springs and small fish have generated both scientific curiosity and spiritual excitement. If life is beginning to appear in a place where none could exist before, it challenges our understanding of this natural wonder and evokes ancient prophecies that foretold such a transformation. In recent years, a series of astonishing discoveries have emerged from the region surrounding the Dead Sea, raising eyebrows among scientists, journalists, and religious observers alike. Beginning around 2016, Israeli researchers and local divers began reporting the presence of freshwater springs forming around the edges of the Dead Sea, particularly in the area near sinkholes that have developed due to the rapidly falling water levels. These freshwater pools, unexpected and seemingly out of place in such a harsh, salty environment, have become the focus of intense study. But what caught the attention of the world even more was the reported sighting of small fish swimming in some of these pools, a phenomenon previously thought to be biologically impossible in that region. The presence of fish in or near the Dead Sea is extraordinary. For centuries, it has been an uncontested scientific fact that the Dead Sea's hypersaline environment cannot sustain life as we know it, particularly multicellular organisms like fish. At these recent sightings backed by photo and video, evidence suggests that certain isolated areas with lower salinity are now capable of supporting aquatic life. This has been made possible by the emergence of underground freshwater springs that dilute the salt concentration in small pockets. In these conditions, fish believed to come from nearby freshwater sources like the Jordan River or underground aquifers are able to survive and even thrive. These findings have been documented by scientists and explorers who have ventured into the unstable sinkhole areas near the Dead Sea as southern basin. Sinkholes have formed due to the collapse of subterranean salt layers, which dissolve when fresh water seeps in. These collapsed areas sometimes fill with water, creating pools that differ drastically from the surrounding sea in terms of chemical composition. Some of these pools exhibit vibrant ecosystems, complete with green algae, microbial mats, and most incredibly, living fish. This development not only challenges long-held assumptions about the Dead Sea's ecological limits, but also sparks renewed interest in biblical prophecies that spoke of the Dead Sea coming to life. While scientists continue to study the mechanisms behind these changes, the implications are profound for those who view the phenomenon through a spiritual lens. The very idea that life can suddenly appear in the most barren of places is compelling both scientifically and prophetically. These fish are not just biological anomalies. For many, they are living signs of something greater unfolding. The Dead Sea has been undergoing dramatic environmental changes over the past few decades, driven largely by both natural processes and human activity. One of the most noticeable transformations is the steadily dropping water level, which has declined by more than a meter per year in some areas. This is due in large part to the diversion of the Jordan River and other freshwater sources for agricultural and industrial use, severely reducing the amount of water flowing into the Dead Sea. As the sea recedes, the exposed land becomes vulnerable to geological instability, leading to the formation of thousands of sinkholes, some of which are massive and dangerous. These sinkholes are not just geological curiosities. They are reshaping the landscape and creating unexpected microenvironments that are allowing fresh water to accumulate in places that were once dry, salty desert. Beneath the surface, fresh water from underground aquifers seeps into the newly exposed land. When this water comes into contact with subterranean salt layers, it dissolves the salt, causing the ground above to collapse and form sinkholes. In many cases, these collapsed zones fill with fresh water, creating isolated pools with significantly lower salinity than the surrounding Dead Sea. This environmental shift is making it possible for forms of life, especially aquatic life, to take hold in an area once thought completely inhospitable. In some of these pools, green algae and microbial life have been observed. And in rare but stunning cases, small fish have been found swimming in waters just meters from the salty shoreline. Climate variability also plays a role in this transformation. Changes in rainfall patterns have led to more intense but less frequent precipitation in the region, which affects how water flows into the Dead Sea and its surrounding sinkholes. During flash floods or seasonal rains, water may rush down into the valley, bringing with it nutrients and temporarily reducing the salt concentration in certain areas. These conditions can further contribute to the emergence of life, however briefly, in places that were once biologically dead. The result is a rapidly evolving and unstable environment where new ecosystems are emerging right beside the old lifeless salt flats. These environmental shifts are not only fascinating to scientists and ecologists, but also carry deeper significance for those who interpret them through a biblical lens. The idea that nature is transforming in a way that seems to reflect ancient prophecy adds a powerful spiritual dimension to what is already a compelling ecological phenomenon. For many people of faith, the recent signs of life near the Dead Sea are far more than scientific anomalies or environmental surprises. They are viewed as the literal unfolding of ancient prophecy. According to the biblical vision recorded by the prophet Ezekiel, the Dead Sea would one day be transformed by a stream of healing water flowing from the temple in Jerusalem. This water, he wrote, would cause the barren sea to become fresh, supporting multitudes of fish and life along its shores. For centuries, this prophecy remained a mystery, as the Dead Sea was well known for its complete lack of life due to extreme salinity. But in recent years, discoveries of freshwater pools, algae, and even small fish in the area have led many to believe that what Ezekiel saw was not just symbolic or poetic, but a real event beginning to unfold in modern times. This interpretation has gained traction, especially among those who follow end times prophecy. They believe that the revival of life in the Dead Sea is a sign that we are approaching a period of major spiritual and global transformation. The fact that these changes are happening now, in a time of rapid political, environmental, and moral upheaval, only strengthens this view. For believers, the connection between prophecy and physical reality is not accidental. It is divine timing. It is the idea that the natural world is aligning with the sacred timeline revealed in Scripture. When something as scientifically implausible as fish being found in or near the Dead Sea becomes reality, it feels like confirmation that the ancient texts are not only relevant, but prophetically accurate. This belief is not limited to one religious group or region. Around the world, people who study biblical prophecy are pointing to the Dead Sea as one of many signs that humanity is entering a time of fulfillment. They see parallels between what is happening in nature and what was foretold long ago. From geological shifts to political developments involving Israel and the Middle East, in this context, the presence of living creatures in a formerly dead body of water is seen as both miraculous and purposeful. It suggests that prophecy is not a distant or abstract concept, but something alive. It's unfolding and directly connected to the world we live in today. The Dead Sea, once a symbol of death and judgment, is being watched with new eyes, as a place where divine promises may be springing to life before a watching world. The revival of life in the Dead Sea region holds not only ecological and prophetic significance, but also deep spiritual symbolism. In biblical tradition, water is often a symbol of cleansing, healing, and divine restoration. The vision of fresh water flowing into the Dead Sea, transforming its deadly salt into life-giving streams, speaks to a larger theme repeated throughout Scripture: the idea that God can bring life from death, hope from despair, and renewal from ruin. The Dead Sea, with its centuries-long history as a barren, lifeless zone, becomes in this context a metaphor for the human condition: broken, empty, and without hope until touched by divine intervention. When the waters of life reach it, even what seems most cursed is restored. This symbolic narrative resonates deeply with people of faith, because it reflects the core message of redemption. The idea that something once considered dead beyond repair, whether it be a soul, a people, or a place, can be renewed is central to spiritual belief. The transformation of the Dead Sea thus becomes more than a geological phenomenon. It is a living parable. It suggests that nothing is too far gone for restoration, and that the Creator's power extends even to the most desolate corners of the earth, just as living water is said to flow into the sea and bring forth fish and life. So too can spiritual life flow into what seems lost and irredeemable. This symbolism also reflects God's broader plan for restoration, not only of individuals but of nations and creation itself. Many interpret the vision of the Dead Sea's renewal as a picture of the coming era of peace and divine presence, where the earth will be healed, justice will reign, and creation will be restored to its intended purpose. In this vision, the Dead Sea becomes a prophetic canvas, showing what happens when divine life touches something long declared dead. It mirrors the hope of future restoration for Israel, for humanity, and for the world at large. Moreover, it serves as a reminder to stay alert to the signs of the times, not just in global events, but in nature itself. If life can emerge in a place as lifeless as the Dead Sea, then no situation is without hope, no person beyond redemption, and no prophecy left unfulfilled. The symbolic message is clear. What was once dead is now alive, and where death reigned, life has begun to flow again. What we are witnessing today near the shores of the Dead Sea is more than a scientific curiosity or a rare natural event at SA sign that what was foretold long ago is beginning to unfold before our very eyes. Fish found in freshwater pools near a sea, once thought forever dead. Algae, life, movement, and hope merging from a place that for centuries symbolized lifelessness and judgment. These discoveries echo the words written in ancient prophecy. And whether you see it as literal fulfillment, spiritual metaphor, or divine timing, one thing is undeniable. Something is changing. The earth is responding. The story isn't over. In fact, it may just be beginning. We are living in a time when ancient words are coming alive, not just on paper, but in the land, in the waters, and in the events unfolding all around us. So open your eyes, open your heart, and stay watchful. Because what was once called impossible is now possible. And the Dead Sea, once a symbol of death, is now whispering the promise of life. Thank you for taking the time to watch, listen, and reflect. May your journey for truth be filled with clarity, courage, and faith. Keep seeking, keep watching, and keep believing, because the signs are here and the truth is rising. Good luck, and may you walk boldly in wisdom and wonder. Until next time, thank you and God bless.